Welcome back. We are closing out our Black Music Month with a miracle, featuring one of the men who helped put Motown on the map. Singer-songwriter Smokey Robinson has been producing new music in recent years in Los Angeles, but before moving to the West Coast, he was signed as one of the founding artists of Motown Records. I caught up with the icon to hear more about the influence of one of the creators of the sound of Motown. Here now with you, the amazing, wonderful, legendary Smokey Robinson. Thank you again for making so much time for CBS Detroit. We really appreciate you.
Well, Amir, I appreciate you doing this. Like I said, I really thank you for doing this. And, you know, you're doing it in Detroit, which is my hometown, so it makes it extra special.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I wanted to talk about first. Smokey Joe, what was life like for you growing up in
All right,
Detroit?
take me back.
Oh, yeah, honey, I did my research. I know you.
All right.
So what was life like for you growing up here in Detroit?
Our life was great. I mean, I grew up in the hood, man, but you see, I had no idea that we were in the hood or how poor we were, or any of that, because it was my situation and that was where I lived and everybody was under the same conditions. So it was great, man. You know, I tell people all the time, we didn't have money, we didn't have anything like that, but we had love, and we had love of our friends, and we had great friendships, and we went outside and played. You know, kids don't do that anymore. You know, everything's, it's just wonder they have thumbprints because everything's on the computer and they're playing video games and all that, you know, but we went outside and played, and we had a great time. So it was wonderful growing up in Detroit.
So was your first group that you started long before Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Five Chimes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did we transition from that to the other?
Well, the Five Chimes, you know, I probably was about 11. And one of the guys who ended up being in the Miracles also, a guy named Ron White, he was the paper boy on our street. Ron's cousin told us that Jackie Wilson's managers were in town and they were auditioning for talent. We sang the 5 songs and they told us that we would never make it. After they rejected us, we were walking down the hall, Barry came out and asked where we got the songs from. I told him I had written them, he wanted to hear some more of my songs. He and I struck up a relationship, and about a year and a half or so after that, he started Motown.
Well, and I think the influence from Motown is so great. And with you being there and being so multifaceted as both a performer and a songwriter, how would you describe the Motown sound?
Oh boy, you know, it's been a long time since somebody asked me that question, because they used to ask that. People talked about it because there were so many versions out in the streets of what the Motown sound was. Well, it's got more kick drum. No, it's got more piano. No, the drums are above all that. I tell people all the time, and they said, okay, when we really started making a lot of hits in a row, honey, people were coming from London and Africa and New York and Chicago and California and Nashville and everywhere to Detroit to record their artists because they thought the Motown sound was in the air. If you come to Detroit and record your artist, you're going to get the Motown sound because it's in the air. Okay? We are the Motown sound.
Yeah,
the
amen.
People, the artists. We're the Motown sound. We're the ones, the producers, the writers, the people behind the scenes. We are the Motown sound.
And how do you feel then that that sound influenced generations of musicians to come?
Honey, like I said, I'm so proud of that. I can't even tell you. One of my proudest achievements is that, you know, Detroit, when I was a kid, we called it Detroit, it was the Motor City. Now it's called Motown. You know, that's really, really wonderful.
I would say that for you, Mr. Robinson, so much more so than a lot of the other Motown artists, you can put some pretty provocative things in your lyrics, but you say it so beautifully, sometimes people don't quite catch on. For example, now, more current, what is an eyegasm?
An eyegasm is a good feeling through your eyes, through sight. When you see somebody or see something. That's what it is. It makes you feel good just seeing them or seeing it. So that's an orgasm.